As Rachel said, my name is Morreen, and I am 48 years old. I will be 49 in September. I have a daughter who's 11. I own a restaurant consulting firm, so I travel around the country visiting restaurants, helping them with efficiencies, helping them somewhat with their kitchen setup and organization, and then primarily I help them on the employee experience and leadership experience. But as you can imagine, I have a lot of restaurateurs that want to feed me, which is the most challenging part of my job, especially when I'm in a restaurant that I'm scared to eat in. Then I just chew on gum or eat Mentos all day long because I don't want to eat. I'm going to start at the beginning of my story and then end here at Marino's, and I probably will cry, so just be prepared. So I grew up in Massachusetts with your typical Jewish mother who believed that one of the ways to show love was through cooking and baking. And my mom owned a bakery, and she was the most amazing baker. Your birthday was special because you got to plan the meals, every cake, every treat. And for years I blamed my thighs on my mom because she was just so amazing, and that's how she showed love. My mom passed away 10 years ago from cancer, and for a couple years I felt like I was cheating on her if I didn't continue that tradition. So I too baked, and I too used that as a way to show people that I love them. And before I could give it away, of course, I had to taste it, right? So there was a lot of sampling going on in my kitchen. But I really struggled with how can I still show love but not always have to include the food aspect of it. Because there was that guilt of, well, I'm going to be letting her go if I don't do it. And then fast forward, my dad passed away 4 years ago, and I didn't have a relationship with my father most of my life. And when I turned 30, I called him and I asked him to come to Philly, and I said, you know, let's duke this out because I really want a relationship with you, but it means that we have to accept each other for what we are. And it was probably one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. But he ended up being my biggest cheerleader, my biggest mentor, and one of the most amazing people I could ever ask to have in my corner. And then here I was faced with, I had finally moved through some of the grief with my mom, only to be faced with now losing my dad. And my dad, one of the best things he did was make reservations. So we ate out a lot, which meant, you know, late night dinners, big dinners, bread, really not a ton of thought. My dad had diabetes. He had a quadruple bypass at the age of 45. He was not healthy. Neither of my parents were so healthy. Exercise was, let's walk and get the mail, which obviously isn't enough. So, you know, I, throughout my life, have done Weight Watchers, I've dieted, I have always exercised because I enjoy exercising. But it wasn't until this past October I did a program up at Kripalu in Massachusetts that was about, it was called Women, Food, and God, and it was really about finding a better connection to what it is that you're putting in your mouth. Now, back to my childhood, there were messages that I got growing up that in my mind I heard them as, you're not smart, you're fat, you're not attractive, like different messages from different people, and I'm not even saying that necessarily family. And so you can imagine that leads to not being so kind to yourself and the messages that you say to yourself. And I remember being here when I first started thinking, when we had to do those frickin' sled pulls. Every time I see the sleds out, I would come in here, I'd be like, oh my God, someone has to pull me. And I felt ashamed. I wanted to apologize. And just not such good messages. And I did this class in October, and it was eye-opening, and it was so inspiring, and really made me realize that the messages that I'm saying to myself are what become my reality. And I want to read a quick little quote that came on my tea bag today because I thought it was quite fitting, but you must learn a new way to think before you can master a new way to be.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
Yeah,
spot on.
Yeah.
So I did this program. It was really a seismic shift. The messages in my head are, you know, now if something starts to rear its head, I go, you know, I didn't invite you, so go away. And I had a moment to pay it forward 2 weekends ago, again, come in and see the goddamn sleds. And but I didn't think to myself, oh, someone has to pull me. I thought, okay, just the goddamn sleds, my arms hurt. But, the person I was working with mouthed to me, I'm sorry. And I said, excuse me? And she said, I'm sorry. And I said, as Rachel always says, did you fart? And it was a, no, I'm sorry, it's because I'm fat. And I stopped pulling the sled and I went over and I said, I want you to take that back. I said, the messages in our head are what become our reality. And I shared with her what it is I had learned. And for me, it was very eye-opening because I realized, oh my God, that's what I sounded like too. And I said, would you ever say anything like that to your worst enemy? And she said no, and she welled up, and we had a moment, and I wasn't pulling the sled, and Rachel didn't yell at me, which was a good thing. So,
nice person, I
Deep, deep down.
I decided after taking that class in November, I jumped into the semi-privates and into the plan. I don't call it a diet, I call it a clean way of eating. I don't have good or bad in my vocabulary because I really don't feel that way. I really feel that I'm healthier, I have more energy, I have lines that I didn't have before. You know, my husband's a little slow. I called him a dipshit the other day because I finally just walked around in my bra and underwear like, do you notice the line? I didn't say that, but I was just like, you know, striking my nose, flexing, you know. And finally he turns around and he's like, wow, you have lines? I'm like, yeah, dipshit. You've been there for a couple weeks. So, I feel I'm not doing this for a certain number. I don't weigh myself except for the once a month when I do the body weight thing here. I really am doing it for the health and just to feel strong and feel good. But I really think it's the combination. I had been here for 2.5 years. I wasn't seeing a change in my body. Certainly I felt better cardio and stronger, but I wasn't seeing the shift in my body in the way that I was watching other people here going, oh my God, I would love to have arms like that. And I'd say to people, wow, you look great. And then after I changed my mind and I changed the messages that I was giving to myself, it was when I decided that I was ready to jump in and really do it. And I really anally stuck to the plan for about 2.5, 3 months. Now, mind you, I travel. So Rachel gets these emails from me like, oh my God, I'm going here, what do I do? You know, what do I pack, you know? And it's definitely challenging. But I have times where, you know what, darn it, I'm having that dark chocolate sea salt caramel. But instead of woofing down 3 and being unconscious about it, I take the time and I say, you know what, I am having that because that's what I want. And I'm going to cherish it. And literally, I can make a sea salt caramel last 20 minutes. And I have to tell you, it's the most amazing 20 minutes. I'm smiling the whole way through. My team is like, why is she so happy? And really, it's a combination. Rachel will say it all the time. It's 70% what goes on out in your kitchen. And it's true. I also am down 12 pounds. I'm down 6%. I was leaving for a conference about a month ago, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's Wednesday. My flight's early Saturday morning. I better try on my clothes. And in my mind, I had these 2 skirts that hadn't fit me in a while, and I went and put them on, and they both fell to the ground. So I was like, yes! So, time to buy some new clothes, but they're great here. I mean, they really, like Wendy said, I love that I can work out with different people. I do get nervous when I hear Rachel yell bails, because I know it means I'm either doing something wrong or I'm not working hard enough, but then it motivates me to work harder. They really get to know what your capabilities are. I hurt my back about 2 weeks ago, and I went to the chiropractor, and he said, he knows Chris, and he said, you know, this injury would normally take somebody out for several weeks. He said, but they've done such a good job at Merino's in helping you build the muscle up in that area. I probably want to see you one more time and you can go back tomorrow. And I was like, really? And so I saw him one other time and I've had no issues. Because they really get to know who you are and what your strengths and capabilities are. And what your goals are overall. And as I said, my goal is not necessarily a number. But I will turn 50 next year, and I'm going to go into my 50s kicking and screaming and going to be in the best shape I've ever been.